Hello, class 7. So, we have been studying chapter number 10, that is respiration. Yes. So, in previous class, we studied about aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Yes, in previous class, we studied about them. So, before we start today's topic, let's revise whatever we studied. Yes, because revision is very important. Without revision, everything will go west. Yes. So, what is breathing? Breathing is actually the process that include breathing is a process that include respiration. What is respiration? Respiration is a process that include breathing. Yes. So during respiration we take in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide. Yes, but plants release oxygen and they take carbon dioxide, which is released by vehicles, many animals. Yes. So, and what is cellular respiration? Yes, cellular respiration is actually that process which actually help to use the energy that is stored in the food. Yes, it helps to it helps to use the energy by the body that is stored in the food. So you know that during the process of breathing, we take in air, oxygen is taken in while carbon dioxide is released out of the body. During breathing, oxygen is then circulated to all cells of the body. Food is broken down in the cell and with the help of oxygen. Yes. So, what is cellular respiration? We can say that in short, we can say the process in which food is broken down in the cell. The process in which food is broken down in the cells to release energy is known as cellular respiration. Yes, all living things respire. We know all living things respire. Animals such as earthworm breathe through the skins. Fishes use gills for breathing process. Plants use the stomata, which are actually the small pores, holes, tiny structure, which are present mainly on the surface of leaf, which help to exchange the gas. Yes, and what is aerobic respiration? Yes, kids. In previous class we studied. So, the process of breaking down of food, or you can say the process of breakdown of food. The process of breakdown of food means glucose. The process of breakdown of food in the presence of oxygen, yes, is known as aerobic respiration. So, you know that during respiration, energy is always released, energy is always produced, which occur in the cells with the help of oxygen. Yes. So, during aerobic respiration, the glucose which is actually stored in the stored energy in the food, which is with the help of oxygen, it is broken down and it release water, forms water, carbon dioxide, energy, blah blah blah. Yes. So it takes place in all organisms. Yes, leads to the production of carbon dioxide, water, energy. And if we talk about the anaerobic respiration, food is also broken down in this process, but in the absence of oxygen. Yes, but in aerobic respiration, oxygen is present. So, what is anaerobic respiration? The process of breaking down of food in the absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration. So, during this process it leads to the production of alcohol or acetic acid, energy plus carbon dioxide, blah blah blah. Yes. So it happens in the yeast. Okay. Now as you can see on your screen, I have written the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Yes. So aerobic respiration, it occurs in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, it occurs in the absence of oxygen. Yes. And aerobic respiration involves the exchange of gases between an organism and outside environment, and during anaerobic respiration, exchange of gases is absent. And aerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm, while anaerobic respiration occurs in only cytoplasm. But aerobic respiration also occur in mitochondria. Mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. And during aerobic respiration, CO2 and H2O are produced. But in anaerobic respiration, end product may vary like acetic acid, alcohol. Yes. And aerobic respiration, it always release CO2, H2O. And anaerobic respiration, and during aerobic respiration, 36 ATP is produced. ATP is actually a unit used for energy, but actually these are a basic molecule. Actually, they are actually molecules that meet our energy needs. Yes. Okay. They are formed during the glucose oxidation, means and during breaking down of glucose. And during anaerobic respiration, only 2 ATP is yield. Yes, 2 ATP is produced. Okay. And what is ATP? ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Yes, check out the spelling: ADENOSINE, ADENOSINE, adenosine triphosphate, TRIPHOSPHAT, phosphate, ATP. So ATP is the universal unit of energy used in all living cells. It is very basic molecules which meets our energy needs and is formed in the later step of glucose oxidation. Okay. Now let's move on to the next point. Okay, now we will study a topic which is actually called fermentation. Well, I have not written the name of topic. Yes, I have not written the name of topic, but the name of topic is fermentation. Okay, so let's try to understand this topic. Okay, it's very easy topic, fermentation. So you know that in yeast perform anaerobic respiration. Yes, they do without oxygen, so that's why in their body alcohol or lactic acid is formed. So yeast performs the process of anaerobic respiration, which leads to the production of alcohol by incomplete breakdown of sugar. Yes, because in a yeast they do not perform aerobic respiration, because yeast do not perform aerobic respiration. That's why the glucose means sugar. Yes, that cannot be broken down completely. Yes, incomplete breakdown occur. It is for this reason that yeast is used in the production of wine and beer. Yes, it is for this reason. For this reason, the yeast is used in the production of wine and beer. Yes, that's why yeast is used to produce wine and beer, because it when it do the breakdown of sugar, it produce alcohol. Yes, that's why yeast is used for the production of wine and beer. And wine and beer contains alcohol. Wine and beer contains alcohol, and alcohol is also contained in our sanitizer. Yes, alcohol is just like petrol, it can burn. Okay. So what is fermentation? Let's try to understand. Well, fermentation, this topic you will also study in your upcoming class, in 8th class. Okay, but at that place you will study in little bit detail again. Okay, so we are not studying here in too much detail. So what is fermentation? Okay, so the anaerobic conversion of sugar to carbon dioxide and alcohol by yeast is called fermentation. So what is fermented? The fermentation is a process in which sugar is converted into carbon dioxide and alcohol. Yes, the process in which sugar is converted into carbon dioxide and alcohol is called fermentation. Yes, so the anaerobic conversion in which the sugar means what, glucose, which is converted into carbon dioxide, and alcohol is also produced, which is used in wine and beer. That's why yeast is used in the production of wine and beer. Well, not only it is used in wine and beer, yeast is used for many other purposes also. Okay, so uh, yeast are actually eukaryotic animals. Yes, yeast are actually eukaryotic microorganisms. Yes, and eukaryotic microorganism, I can say that they are actually a single cell organism which develop and become multicellular cell organism. Yes, means they have single cell, but later they have become the cells are developed and then they grow with many cells. Cells are started developing, and they are actually from the kingdom of fungi. Yes, they belong to a kingdom which is called fungi, means fungus, favund, which is actually in a brown color. You might have seen fungi when if anything is rotten, like when the bread is rotten, or when any chapati is rotten, that time you might have seen the brown color thin thread like structure, which are actually fungi. Yes, and yeast are actually fungi. Yes, so think the alcohol seller, wine seller, beer seller use these shit things in the wine to produce. So yeast is used. Yes, and actually fungi, because yeast is actually the from the kingdom of fungi. Yeast is actually from the kingdom of fungi are actually the microorganism. Okay, so they are actually there are around 1500 species of fungi. Yes, my god, there are different type of fungi. Yes, so yeast are unicellular. Unicellular means they are made up of one cell, but later they become multicellular when they grow and become multicellular. Okay, so and if we talk about the size of yeast, their size is not so long. Their size is around 3 to 5 micrometer. Yes, this is their size, and they are around 3 to 5 micrometer in diameter. Okay, and they are produced by asexual reproduction. They are produced by asexual reproduction. Okay, I hope you understood. Now let's move on the next point. Class. So we have been studying about the respiration. Now we will study about the respiratory system. Yes, so as you can see the picture of respiratory system. Yes, so this is the picture of respiratory system. So there are different parts of respiratory system. First part is our nose. Yes, nose has different part, like these two holes are called nostril, and the internal area is actually known as nasal cavity. Yes, internal area is actually known as nasal cavity. Yes, and just below the nasal cavity, and there is a trachea. Trachea is also known as windpipe, and just above the trachea is larynx present. Larynx is also known as voice box or sound box, and pharynx is also passed, which is actually a food pipe, and trachea is divided into two small pipes which are known as primary primary bronchi, and these primary bronchi enter into the lungs. These two primary bronchi enter into the lungs, and into the lungs these bronchi are divided into bronchioles. Okay, means more small thin tubes, and these bronchioles are secondary bronchioles are divided again into small territory bronchi. Okay, and just below the lungs there is a balloon like structure which is called diaphragm. DIA, DIA, DIAPHRAGM, DIAPHIRAGM. Okay, diaphragm. So these are the parts of our respiratory system. First part is nasal cavity, or you can say simply nose and for nose. Then windpipe. Okay, W for windpipe. Windpipe is also known as trachea. Check out the spelling of trachea. 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 And just above the trachea, larynx is present. Larynx. What is the spelling of larynx? LARYNX. LARYNX. Larynx, which is also known as sound box. This the bludge out part. Okay, and from the after nasal cavity, windpipe is attached to the nasal cavity, and there is also one pipe which is called food pipe. Food pipe is known as pharynx, but pharynx food pipe is the part of digestive system, and trachea is the part of respiratory system, and lungs are connected to the trachea. Yes. Through two primary bronchi, and these primary bronchi open into the lungs into many small thin tubes like structure which are called bronchioles, which are, or you can say secondary bronchioles, and these secondary bronchioles again divide into or more small tubes like structure in the lungs which are called tertiary bronchioles, and then they are connected to alveoli. Yes, the last part of the in the tubes, the small circular part is alveoli, and just above below the lungs is diaphragm. Okay, so when you breathe air, what happens that time? The diaphragm size increase, and when you release the air, the diaphragm size decrease. Yes, when you are taking oxygen, when you are when you respire, the diaphragm goes down. Yes, and when you release the air, the diaphragm comes up. Yes, all the air from the diaphragm comes out. Okay, so it happens. So in this way we breathe, and the breathing air, it passes through the alveoli. Okay, and then it goes through the small veins which contains blood, and blood carry the oxygen. Yes, and in this way it reaches. Okay, now let's try to understand what is the meaning of breathing rate. What is the meaning of breathing rate? Okay, so breathing rate means gets how many time you are taking air and releasing air. Yes, taking air means inhale. Taking air means inhale, and releasing air means exhale. Taking air means inhale, and releasing air means in exhale. So the number of time a person inhale and exhale, the number of time a person inhale, the number of time a person inhale and exhale or breathe in 1 minute is known as breathing rate. Yes, the number of time. Okay, so breathing rate is defined as the total number of inhaling and exhaling the air in 1 minute. So suppose you breathe in 1 minute 60 times. So 60 times, this is actually your breathing rate in 1 minute. Okay, 60 per minute. I hope you understood the meaning of it. Okay, now kids, let's understand the process of breathing. Okay, let's move on the next point. Okay, it's process of breathing in human being. Let's try to understand. But before it, let me tell you one thing. You will have to do one work. You will draw the diagram of respiratory system in your notebook. You will have to draw in any condition the diagram of respiratory system, and you will practice it. You will, if you love science, you will have to face this diagram again in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and in all classes you will have to study. So that's why it is the basic. You need to understand the base. It will improve your base. Okay, so what is the process of breathing? So the process of breathing involves taking in oxygen rich air and giving out carbon dioxide rich air. Yes, the process of breathing involves taking in oxygen rich air and giving out carbon dioxide rich air. Okay, this entire process occurs because of the action of various organs of respiratory system. Yes, this entire process happen because of the action of various organ in the respiratory system. And you know, there are many respiratory organ: nasal, nostril, nasal, tracheae, which is also called windpipe, then lungs, diaphragm. So what do? We take the oxygen rich in air. Oxygen rich in air means air which contains oxygen. And what do we release? We release carbon dioxide rich air, means air which contains carbon dioxide. This process is called breathing, we know, and it helps in the breaking down the food which provide us release energy which is used by our body, you know, which is actually cellular respiration. Yes, the real term is cellular respiration. So for it many organs help, so we all know that when we take in air through our nostril, yes, definitely we take through our nostril, we do not take through our ear. Yes, definitely we take through nostril. When we breathe in, then what will happen with that air? This air will pass through the our nostril and it goes into nasal cavity. Yes, it reaches into nasal cavity. Then after nasal cavity, it passes through windpipe, and through windpipe it reaches to lungs. Yes, so where our lungs are actually present in our chest cavity. Yes, the front area is called chest cavity. So our lungs are present in chest cavity where the different bones protect the lungs, and our heart is also present in chest cavity. Okay, chest cavity means empty area. Cavity means an empty area, okay, which is covered by chest having many bones. So air then reaches to the lungs, okay, and which are located in the chest cavity. The actual mechanism of breathing, involves the movement of rib cage. Yes, the actual mechanism of breathing involves the movement of rib cage. Yes, so actually our in chest cavity lungs are present. So who protect the lungs? Lungs are protected by rib cage. What is rib cage? Rib cage is actually the structure just like a cage made of bones which protect the lungs. Okay, so in which lungs are present and diaphragm also present. Okay, so during when we take the air, it goes into lungs. That time diaphragm goes down, and when we release air, means when we give out carbon dioxide air, then and the diaphragm comes up. So which are so these are located around at the base of the chest cavity respectively. I hope you understand. This is very easy process. Now let's move on the next point. Okay, so as you can see the picture, can you see the air goes from tracheae through bronchi, and it reaches into the lungs through bronchioles, and from the alveoli it again passes to the veins. So when you take air, that time what happens? Actually, when you breathe in, that time ribs move out. Yes, ribs move out and diaphragm moves down. When you breathe in air, that time ribs moves out and diaphragm moves down. And when air are forced out, the lungs force the remaining air which do not have oxygen, only have carbon dioxide and other gases. So these air, when the lungs forces, that time ribs move back. Yes, first of all, when you breathe in, ribs move out. When you breathe out, the ribs move back. When the ribs move back, at the same time diaphragm moves also back. Means diaphragm come at its original position. Yes, diaphragm goes up, diaphragm moves up. Okay, so inhalation means the process of taking air in. Yes, inhalation means the process of taking oxygen rich air in, and exhalation means the process of giving out carbon dioxide rich air. So when we inhale means when we take the air. Inhalation means taking air, exhalation means releasing air. So when we inhale, the air is actually reach in and the ribs move out, and the size of our chest cavity increase and diaphragm moves down. And when we exhale, that time actually what happens, the diaphragm moves up and ribs move back, and the size of chest cavity decrease. Okay, so during inhalation the diaphragm moves down and ribs move, and the ribs move upward and outward. Okay, or you can say ribs move out, thereby increasing in the space of chest cavity. Yes, the space of chest cavity increase. This leads to the movement of air. This leads to the movement of air inside the lungs. Okay, during exhalation, what happens? During exhalation, the diaphragm moves to its former position and the ribs move downward and inward. Yes, ribs move downward and inward. Okay, but during inhalation, ribs move upward and outward, and during exhalation, the ribs move inward and downward. Okay, and thereby reducing the size of chest cavity. This lead to the movement of air out of the lungs. Okay, when I say that ribs move out means the ribs are actually moving upward. Okay, when I say ribs moving back means ribs are moving inward. Okay, so ribs moves out means ribs move upward. It happens when you breathe in, and ribs move back means ribs move downward. It happens when you breathe out. Okay, I hope you understood it. It's not very difficult. It's very easy topic. Okay, now let's move on the next point. Okay, it's time to ask question from you. Question number one: draw the diagram of respiratory system. Yes, you will draw the diagram neat and clear with mentioning name the different parts of the respiratory system, like nasal cavity, pharynx, trachea, lungs, uh, diaphragm. So you will mention all these names. Yes, you will mention all these names. Okay. Now question number two. Question number two is, what is fermentation? Yes, what is fermentation? Yes, so the fermentation process is used to make wine and beer. Yes, so what is fermentation? The anaerobic conversion of sugar to carbon dioxide and alcohol by yeast is called fermentation. Yes, the conversion of sugar into alcohol, yes, is known as fermentation. Yes, the anaerobic conversion of anaerobic process occur in yeast. So alcohol is formed by yeast. So we can say the anaerobic conversion of sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide by yeast is called fermentation. Okay. So yeast are eukaryotic organism, the belong to kingdom of fungi. Question number 3. Explain the breathing process in detail. Yes, breathing process. The process of breathing involves taking in oxygen rich air and giving out carbon dioxide rich air. This entire process occurs because of the action of various organs of the respiratory system. Yes, we all know that we take in air through our nostril, and when we breathe in, air passes through our nostril into nasal cavity. Air then reaches the lungs, which are located in the chest cavity. The actual mechanism of breathing involves the movement of the rib cage and the diaphragm, which are actually located around at the base of the chest cavity, respectively. Okay, and during inhalation, what happens? The diaphragm moves down, and the ribs move upward and outward. And thereby increasing in the space of chest cavity. This lead to the movement of air inside the lungs. And during exhalation, what happens? During exhalation, the diaphragm moves to its former position, and the ribs move downward and inward, thereby reducing the size of chest cavity. This lead to the movement of air out of the lungs. Okay. Now, last question, question number 4. What is breathing rate? Yes, what is breathing rate? The number of times a person inhale and exhale, the number of times a person inhales and exhale or the number of time a person breathe in 1 minute. Yes, the number of time a person breathe in 1 minute is known as breathing rate. Yes, the number of time a person breathe in 1 minute is known as breathing rate, or you can say the number of a time a person inhale or exhale in 1 minute is known as its breathing rate. I hope you understood. It's a very easy. And next class we will study the respiration process, breathing process in some different animals. Okay, we will meet in next class. Till then, bye bye.